All right, welcome back for the final episode before our final exam. Let's take a look at it. Let's get started. What is the first thing you should do on a test? Every single time, every single test, doesn't matter the class. Well, that's a good option, yes, but that wasn't what I was thinking. Write your name. Jefe. What's the next thing you should do? Read the instructions. If there are instructions, read them. It says answer the questions in the space provided. Be sure to show your work. Round to the hundreds when necessary. I got to make sure you know how to round, so that's in there. And showing your work lets me know that you didn't just have the calculator do everything. All right. So, first question is what percent of 81 is 18? Recall this is back when we had the is of percentage. And for our triangle, 81 is the of, and is 18. So we were trying to calculate the percentage. So this acts like a division bar. So question mark equals 18 over 81. That's a good spot to at least have that down there. It helps if you recognize this is 2 times 9 over 9 times 9. So the 9s will cancel and we're just left with 2 9ths. And if you throw that into a calculator, you're going to get 0.22. The 2's just get repeated. All right. And next one says the student received grades of 93, 77, and 85. On math quizzes, find the mean. The mean is add them up and divide by the total number. So I will add these up and I will divide by the total number. I recommend doing this in steps. Just do the adding first. 93 plus 77 plus 85 is 255. I have 255 divided by 3 is 85. So that is the average. Melissa was in here at the beginning of the semester. She just stopped by my office today. She's asking me if I'm going to be teaching it next spring. I thought that was nice. You guys ready for some more? All right, so I'm going to take this, we got to distribute. I'm going to take the 10 and multiply it by the 3x and the 4. 10 times 3x is 30x, and 10 times 4 is 40. And then I need to distribute the negative 5x. Negative 5x times 3x is negative 15. And then I've got 2 x's, so x squared. And negative 5x times 4 is negative 20x. We want to combine like terms and rewrite them in descending order. So the first thing that has x squared is negative 15x squared. Then I have a 30x and I have minus 20x. So 30 minus 20 is 10. So 30x minus 20x is 10x. So I have plus 10x. And then finally, I have 40 left over. And that is the final answer.
What if for whatever reason we don't have them on that order? Would that be incorrect then?
If you have them in the wrong order, it's mostly correct. The not having them in the right order is a minor point loss. It's
Okay.
not much.
Because I had done it, but it was not in that order. And I had it correct, like the answer was correct, but just not in that order.
Right, so you'll miss hardly anything. More like a tap on the wrist, you know, like get your shit together, Bertha.
Yeah.
Do the
No,
shit
then now I
right,
know. But now I know.
right?
Yep.
Any other questions on this first page? Did anyone else besides Bertha try to do this before today? A lot of crickets, that's a shame. All right. So it says the road drops 45 feet over a 600-foot length of road. So if my car is right here and I drive 600 feet that way, it goes down 45 feet. That's what it's trying to say. And it wants us to find the angle of declination. The angle of declination is that amount right there, which is actually this amount right here. Or I could move that 45 over here as well. Let's say I'm using this one right here. That makes this the 600 feet as well. And this is 45 feet. And this is a right angle. So from my angle that I'm looking at, I have opposite and I have adjacent. So from theta, opposite is 45, adjacent is 600. That, if we do SOHCAHTOA, is tangent. So tangent theta equals 45 over 600. And this means we can write it like this, tangent inverse of 45 over 600. And that's what we got to put in our calculator. So my tangent inverse is right above my tangent key. Shift, tangent inverse. I'm going to do parentheses, 45 divided by 600. And I am getting theta equals 4.289 degrees. Any questions?
Yes, can you do that again with your computer? I mean, calculator, because I did something wrong and I don't know what it is.
So on my calculator, I hit the shift key and then the tangent key, which has tangent inverse above it. Let me make sure I Let me do it again, make sure I got the right value.
And it should be on degrees, right?
Yeah. And mine
Yeah.
says D for degrees, okay, and then I hit the parentheses key. And then I did 45 divided by 600, and then I hit end parentheses. And then I hit equal. And it spits out that without the degree sign, of course. But I guess to the 100th place, that is 4.29. To the 100th place. Did I have any rounding anywhere else? Yeah, I did. I rounded to the right place.
Yeah, I'm not getting that, and I don't know why I'm doing it wrong.
Are you doing the parentheses?
Yes.
You might have it in radians.
I'll figure it out. You can keep going.
See, 29 over 120. Let me try doing it another way.
Okay, I got it.
Okay,
I was supposed to put my calculator was I'm using my phone. It's 45 divided by 600, and then the result after that you got the result, and you put the
tangent inverse.
yes.
Yeah. All right, I am blowing up that fraction to make it a little bit more visible for our viewers at home. Or shit, the ones that are sitting in the back. Everybody's fucking sitting in the back. Y'all sit too far away. What is this bullshit? All right, remember we can. If I want to get X by itself, the easiest thing to do is just cross multiply. It adds an extra step here, but I don't remember which side of the fraction I have the X on in the actual exam. So cross multiplying here works well. I get 5 times 12 on the left and 8 times X on the right. So 60 equals 8X. And so I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And I get X equals 60 divided by 8. Which is 15 times 4 over 2 times 4 should be 15 over 2. So X equals 7.5. Let me verify that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if the X is on top, you don't actually need to do the full cross multiplying. I could have just multiplied by 12. And if I'd done that, I would have had 12 times 5 on the top over here, which is 60 over 8. But the cross multiplying will make sure you don't fuck anything up. All right, next problem says a right triangle has legs 5, 12, and 13. And this is side A, and this is side B, and that's side C that are labeled. And it says find sine, cosine, and tangent for angle A without a calculator. Angle A is the side, or is the angle opposite little a. So it's that one right there. So for angle A, I'm going to identify what each side is. The opposite is the 5. The adjacent is the 12. And the hypotenuse is the 13. We have that little mnemonic up there. It means sine of theta is O over H, which is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine theta is A over H, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent theta is O over A, which is opposite over adjacent. So sine theta equals opposite, which is 5, over adjacent, which or hypotenuse, which is 13. Cosine theta is adjacent, which is 12, over hypotenuse, which is 13. And finally, tangent theta is opposite, which is 5, over adjacent, which is 12. That's all you need. That's what we're looking for. You guys ready for the next one? All right, the next one gives us 2 points. One is -2, -1. The other is 4, 11. And it says find the slope. The slope goes by m. That's our rise over run. And it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You will get the correct same answer no matter which one you label as 2 and which one you label as 1. So pick the ones you like. I'll just use them in order. If it helps you, from that, write down what each thing is. X1 is -2, Y1 is -1, X2 equals 4, and Y2 equals 11. So I want to plug those things into my equation right there. Y2 is 11, it goes in the upper left. Y1 is on the upper right, and it has a different negative than the minus that's already part of the formula. X2 is in the lower left, which is 4. And X1 is in the lower right, which is -2, also a different minus sign. 2 minuses make a plus. I've got 11 plus 1 over 4 plus 2, which is 12 over 6. So m equals 2. You guys ready for the next one? All right, it says find the complementary and supplementary angles for angle of 50 degrees. The complementary angle does 90 minus the degree we're talking about. And supplementary does 180 minus the angle that we have already. So complementary is 90 minus 50, which is 40 degrees. And supplementary is 180 minus 50, which is 130 degrees. You guys ready for more? Okay, Big Daddy. This says 20 meters. I see that it doesn't look well on the printing. So if it's the same problem in class, I will draw a big figurine on the desk or on that chalkboard, whiteboard, whatever the fuck it is behind me. And that says 16 meters right there. This looks like this might be a lot more work than I think it is. I might have to trim off perimeter, but let's find out. I know this entire length right here should be 20 plus 16, which is 36. And it looks like that's the same side. So this 20 should go over here as well. And that comes down right there. And that makes that right there 16. Oh, we can do this. It's not going to be fun, but we can do it. I know the shape is easier on the actual vinyl. It's less convoluted. Okay, so I got two more sides I need to get. I'll call it A and B. And I have two triangles I could do with. This triangle here as A. This side is 16 and this side is 18. So we have the Pythagorean formula, which was A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Well, in my picture, maybe I should have labeled this C. This is more like the C. The way I drew it, that's a C. I'll call it C1 and C2. So those are both C's. So I have A squared is 18 squared plus 16 squared is C squared. So I'll C1 squared. So C1 is the square root of 580. Which is 24.08. We'll do the C2 as well. I have 8 right there and 16 right here. So A squared, again, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. C squared is this one, so I just need the other two squared. So what is that? So C2 is the square root of 320. And what is that? That's 17.89. All right, I'm going to start in the upper left corner and I'm going to go around to the perimeter. The perimeter has an 18 meters and then a 20 meters and then 8 meters. And then I have my C2, which is 17.89 meters. And my C1, which is 24.08 meters. And finally, the last thing before I hit the corner again is another 20 meters. So I need to add those all up. I'm getting that the perimeter equals 107.97 meters. All right, I now have three shapes in my picture. I have, for the area, I have the square. And I have the triangle for C1. And I have the triangle with C2. So squares are side times side. And both triangles are 1/2 base times height. You just got to figure out what the base and the height is here. My square, oh, that is not a square, it's a rectangle. That is a rectangle, it is not a square. And that's length times width. That is 18 meters by 20 meters. Which equals 360 meters squared. Conveniently, for the two triangles, the C1 is neither the base nor the height. So triangle C1 is going to use the 1/2. It'll have 18 meters and it will have 16 meters. Which is 144 meters squared. And triangle C2 is 1/2 and then the 8 and the 16, which is 64 meters squared. So the total area is the area of the rectangle plus the area of triangle 1 plus the area of triangle 2. So 360 plus 144 plus 64 meters squared. The area is 508 meters squared. That's a beast of a problem.
Why did I get something different?
I don't know. What did you get? Did you get the same perimeter?
568. Oh, I see why. Because it's 360, not 300. When you added all the.
Oh, you're right. It is 360. So let me add another 60 to that, and that will make that 568. Good catch. All right, you guys ready for the next one? It says graph using any appropriate method, and I have 3x minus 7y equals 21. Okay, so one way to do it is if you can tell that these numbers will both evenly divide into the 21. Well, this will work no matter what. The easiest way to go about doing this, we need to find 2 points. The easiest way to find 2 points is to set each letter equal to 0 one at a time. If I set x equal to 0, this equation turns into negative 7y equals 21. And if I divide by negative 7, I get y equals negative 3. So that gets me the point 0, negative 3, which is down here. Then I'll do the same thing. I'll set y equal to 0. If I set y equal to 0, the y term drops out, and I just have 3x equals 21. If I divide by 3, I get x equals 7. That gives me the point 70, which is over here. I will then just connect the dots and put an arrowhead on the end of each side. All right, you guys ready for the next part? It says find the perimeter and area of a rectangle with a length of 12 feet and a width of 3 feet. Rectangle length equals 12 feet. Width equals 3 feet. If I want the perimeter, I just added the sides. If I want the area, it's length times width. 12 feet times 3 feet. The area is 36 feet squared. All right, so the next one, find the perimeter and area of a triangle that has sides 6, 9, and 10. I don't think it's a right triangle. I know it's not a right triangle because it doesn't meet the a squared plus b squared equals c squared to make a right triangle. I can't add up 6 squared and 9 squared and get 10 squared. So it's not a right triangle. I can find the perimeter though. The perimeter is just add up the sides, and these were all in centimeters. So P equals 9 plus 6 plus 10 centimeters. P equals 25 centimeters. Well, I really made this shitty for the next part. So S equals 1/2 that, which is 25 over 2, which is 12.5. All right, so it says we can use Heron's formula, and Heron's formula is the square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. I'm just gonna start plugging shit in. That is 12.5 times 12.5 minus 9 times 12.5 minus 6 times 12.5 minus 10. So I have 12.5 times 3.5 times 6.5 times 2.5, and then I gotta take the square root. So I get A equals the square root of 710.9375. And I'm going to wait around until I'm done. If I take the square root of that, that is 26.66 to 2 decimal places. And the perimeter was in centimeters, so the area is in centimeters squared. And I'm going to put a box around my shit so that Jones can find it. All right, number 13. Find the circumference and area of a circle with a diameter of 6 meters. So the area or perimeter of a circle is 2 pi r or pi d. And the area is pi r squared. I can get the perimeter pretty easily just by doing pi times 6 meters. And I get pi equals 6 meters, or 6 pi meters. P, well, not pi equals, P equals 6 pi meters. It says do not approximate or do not round. That's the answer for the perimeter part, which is circumference. Circumference is the same as perimeter. So if I wanted to get area of the circle, pi r squared, I need R. R is 1/2 of D. So 1/2 of 6 meters is 3 meters. So A equals pi times 3 meters squared. Gives us 9. 3 squared is 9, and then we have the pi. And then we have the meters squared. That also, we didn't want to round. And so those are the two answers we're looking for that one. You guys ready to keep going? Nope, I see pencil's gone, sorry.
Professor David,
That's me.
how many decimals should we use when we are multiplying by pi?
Here, don't use decimals. In fact, it says do not round.
Yeah, but just in case.
So if you were using it for real life, it just depends on how many decimal places you need or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Generally, after you get to 3 or 4, past 3 decimal places really is only used in like some science shit. For the average person doing shit, like if you had like a circular garden, and you're trying to find out how much like area your garden was, you're not caring for 3 decimal places. You probably don't even care for 2. 1 is pretty good. So it just depends on what you're using it for. Science, they'll go into like 10, 12 decimal places, shit like that. Because that shit matters if you're like, it can matter. Like if you multiply by something that's going super, super fast and you're multiplying by the speed, all of a sudden those decimal places matter if you're multiplying by 10 million. They start mattering.
Yeah. Homework and chapter 17 was really hard because of that. I kept getting the decimal wrong.
Oh, it should, each problem should tell you what they want it rounded to.
Yeah, but still. Yeah, I was way off. I think I wasn't using enough decimals. I don't know. So just FYI, everyone.
All right, this one says find the equation of the line passing through the given point with the given slope. The given point is 4, 1. The given slope is 3/2. The equation most people remember actually requires more work. But the one that most people remember is y equals mx plus b. So if I wanted to use this, I have m equals 3/2, my x is 4, and my y is 1. I need to solve for b. And I'll set that up real quick. 1 equals 3/2 times 4 plus b. This ends up being 12/2, which is 6. 1 equals 6 plus b. I subtract 6 and I get b equals -5. So if I put it back together, I need to put m in there. M is 3/2, and B is -5. Thank you. A lot of people forget to take this B and then do this part. They just stop at B. So you can't stop at B. The other one, which makes it so you can't miss that step. Other option, option B. Is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. There is no replacement. There's nothing to forget. You're plugging in this case, x1 is 4 and y1 is 1. So I would have y minus 1 equals 3/2 x minus 4. If I distribute that, I have 3/2 times x is 3/2 x. And I have 3/2 times -4 is -6. I add 1 to both sides. And again, I get y equals 3/2 x minus 5. Same equation, different way of doing it. And you don't have to remember to do anything afterwards. So whichever method you like using, feel free to explore. All right. The next one says solve the system of equations by any means using any methods. I have 2x plus 3y equals 12. And I have 2x minus y equals 4. I think the easiest way to do this one is to subtract this, which changes all the signs. This would be minus 2x plus y at -4. So that when you add them up, you have 0x plus 4y equals 8. And 0x doesn't mean anything. Don't need it. 4y equals 8, divide by 4, and we get y equals 2. Take that and plug it into one of the equations.
Is it okay if I use a substitution method?
Yeah, you should have. You can use any method.
Okay.
And in fact, I can do that in a second. If I plug the 2 in here, I have 2x minus 2 equals 4. If I add 2 to both sides, I get 2x equals 6. So x equals 3. The answer is 3, 2. If you did the substitution method, I could solve this equation for y, and it becomes 2x minus 4 equals y. And then I have 2x plus 3y equals 12. And this y and this y are the same. So I can take this and plug it in right there. And I get 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 4 equals 12. I distribute, I got 2x plus 6x minus 12 equals 12. So 8x minus 12 equals 12. Add 12 to both sides, I get 8x equals 24. Divide by 8, and I get x equals 3. And then I take that and put that right back in there. So y equals 2 times 3 minus 4. Y equals 6 minus 4, which is 2. And I still get 3, 2. You can use either method, whichever one you find easier. Okay, so it says, what is the arc length of a sector? Arc length as the equation S equals R theta. Theta, it has to be in radians. They give us R equals 5 centimeters, and they give us theta equals 60 degrees. Well, this is in degrees, I need it in radians. If I convert, the ratio is pi over 180. And if you simplify this up, 180 is 3 times 60. So this simplifies to pi over 3. So what does that do for us? S equals R theta, S equals 5 centimeters times pi over 3. So S equals 5 pi over 3 centimeters. And now we just got to work out 5 times pi divided by 3. To 2 decimal places. Well, to all of it, if I did it all. It would be in centimeters. But then our task is to round it. Hundredths place is 2 decimal places. The 5 says round it up. This becomes 5.24 centimeters. And that's what we're looking for. You guys ready?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what happens if the angle is not 60 degrees? How do you solve that? On your right, when you multiply
Do the same thing. You got to multiply by pi and divide by 180. So you can try factoring the 60 over 180. Like 60 is 6 times 10. And the bottom is 18 times 10. That kind of jumps out at me. And you can break it down more. 6 is 2 times 3. 10 is 2 times 5. And then I got the 2 times 5 down here for that part. 18 is 2 times 9, which is 2 times 3 times 3. And I could just start crossing shit out. And I'm left with 1/3, but there was a pi in there. Or you could have just put this straight into a calculator and said theta equals S equals 5 centimeters times 1.04719. What the fuck? I'm totally writing something different than I'm saying out loud. 1.04719. Then you do the multiplication and you get that, and then you would round.
Okay.
All right. We got last page. Here it says solve. We solve means get x by itself. So first thing we're going to do, I'll write this a little bit bigger so everyone can see it. First thing I will do is distribute. If I clean the right side up, 5 minus 4 is +1. And now the next step just depends on how you want to do it. I like having positive numbers. So I'm the number that's got the biggest negative, which is -5. I am going to add the opposite of that to both sides. And you can do that, this step and the next step all in one. But if you're not comfortable doing that, just doing one step at a time, you would have that. So I'm gonna try to get x by itself. I'll just subtract 7 from both sides. And I get 3x equals -6. And I'll divide by 3 on both sides. I get x equals -6 divided by 3 is -2. And that's my answer. All right, 18. It says the legs of a right triangle are 5 centimeters and 8 centimeters. The legs are the 2 sides touching the right angle, not the long side. So 5 centimeters and 8 centimeters. The hypotenuse is the long side. This is like A, B, and C. So for a right triangle, the equation is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 8. B is 5 centimeters. (64 plus 25 is 89 centimeters squared. So if I take the square root of both sides, I get C equals the square root of 89 centimeters, which is, if I do all the numbers, 9.4339811132. We only want 2 decimal places. So C equals 9.43 centimeters. Ready for number 19? So if it helps, drawing a picture might help get in mind what you're doing here. I don't know if it will or not, we'll find out. -1, 1 is right there, and 5, -3 is right there. And we're looking for that length right there. That's my X. The distance formula comes from treating this as a right triangle. The distance formula is D equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. If you just make a triangle, you don't need to memorize this formula, and all you need to know is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if I make this as a triangle, I just got to count how far it goes. So this is, that's 5. This is -1. So going from -1 to 5 is 6 steps. Another way of doing it is doing the large number minus the big number. 5 minus -1 is 5 plus 1, which is 6. That side is 6. And then going up and down, this is at y equals 1, and this is at y equals -3. 1 minus -3 is 4. So that side's 4. And you could get that by counting downwards as you go down. So I have a triangle that looks like this. So c squared, or c equals, I'll do the c squared equals a squared plus b squared, which equals, and get rid of, I'll take the square root. A is one of the sides, we'll call it the 6. And B is the other side, we'll call that a 4. C equals the square root of 36 plus 16, the square root of 52. So, which is approximately 7.21. And it didn't give us a number of units, so I'll just say units. If you had used the distance formula, you would have ended up here. Distance formula gets you to there. Because you would have had 5 minus -1 squared plus 1 minus -3 squared. Finally, the midpoint. Midpoint is probably one of the easiest problems on this test. As long as you remember the formula. Or even draw it. Shit. I have it drawn up there. I'm gonna re-sketch it. Now, midpoint's a little bit more like that. Okay. So the way you think about the midpoint is if I go this length right here, this is the halfway point. The easiest way of getting that is to actually add the two x values. -1 plus 5 and then divide by 2. That gets us 4/2, which is 2. That's the x value at the midpoint. The y value, we add the y terms. 1 plus -3/2. And then divide by 2 is -2/2, which is -1. And I'm going to show you another way to do it. That's the midpoint thing. So the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2/2, y1 plus y2/2. So another way of thinking about this is, I know this point was -1, 1. We just calculated in the previous problem, this whole length is 6. What is 1/2 of 6? 3. So if I go 3 to the right of -1, -1 plus 3 gives me 2. Which is what I got there. This vertical distance was 4. Again, this is at the halfway point. So half of 4 is 2 and 2. I need to start at 1 and go down 2. 1 minus 2 is -1. So that's another way to think about it. Like just figure out how many steps away it is. Figure out how far away it is, cut it in half. And go that way. The formula is not too bad. But that's the answer you're looking for there. This was this one here. And that is it. And that's all, folks. All right. Any questions from the online group?
I have two questions, but they're from chapter 17 homework, and I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to show you.
Do the ask my instructor and the problem, and it'll send it to me, and
Okay,
then I can look at it and I'll email you back feedback.
okay,
Okay?
alrighty, thank you.
Huh? The final is in 2 days, Wednesday. Mhm.
Okay, see you Wednesday.